Hi, I'm Grace Lim, host of Humans of Oshkosh Conversations. You know, I love the city and the people who make it pretty darn cool. I'm standing in front of Author Apothecary and Bookstore, an independent bookstore right here in downtown Oshkosh. My guest today is Felicia Clark, who was once my journalism student at UW Oshkosh. You know, there's nothing more gratifying than watching a former student go out into the world and actually live their dreams. All right, that's good enough. Let's go meet Felicia. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Did you grow up in Oshkosh?
I actually was born and raised in Kimberly, which is about, 30, 40 minutes away from here. And I've lived on and off in Oshkosh since college.
Okay. And what were you like? Were you sporty? Were you a reader? What were you like?
I was so shy. I dreaded a teacher calling on me. So I was just hidden away all the time. Yes, I was a big reader, so I preferred my books and hiding away.
So who introduced you to the world of books?
So, believe it or not, I was actually really behind in reading in elementary school, and the teachers at a parent-teacher conference told my parents, hey, you need to get her up to speed. And so my mom would lay in bed with me every night and read a story, and then eventually I would start reading the stories to her. And I have a couple of them on my personal shelf that I have in the bookstore that I just loved so much, and we read every night for a couple years. So
How old were you then?
oh gosh, I honestly don't know. It was I feel like it was very young. I don't actually know the age. I know that by 9, I was wanting to be an author and publish books and own a bookstore. So sometime
Wow.
before that.
That's amazing that at age 9 that you have now you've manifested what you wanted at age 9. That's amazing.
It's crazy. The last 2 years, all of my dreams have come true. It's wild.
Okay, you're pretty young. I mean, to have all your dreams come true.
Right. I feel
create
like
new dreams, right?
right. Like the big list that I had, the biggest items on there, I feel like I've been able to check off, which is awesome. I used to actually write Felicia's life goals, and I would hang them on my mirror in high school, and I'd update them all the time. I think I did it in college for a little bit too, and then I kind of stopped. And then once I decided to publish my book, I started doing it again. So I have my list going again of things. So
Do you have any of your old lists still?
I do.
Okay.
And it reminded me, I have this memory box. I feel like a lot of people have these. And I came across them in between traveling around the last couple of years. And that's kind of what inspired me actually to start a fresh one.
Wow. Let's get back to you and books and when you were a kid. What kind of books did you like?
There are a couple books that I'm actually still trying to find because I don't know what happened to them, but I want to find them again. Typically, they were books about animals. I was a big nature girl. And so talking animals, specifically talking dogs, were my favorite. I used to write these short stories when I was a kid about basically I wanted to be Harriet the Spy. So I was Harriet the Spy in my stories, and I had my husky or my beagle sidekick, and we would go on these adventures and try to solve crime and mysteries and all this stuff.
Do you have those?
I do somewhere.
Oh my gosh.
If not, I took pictures of them before I tossed them because I did go through a phase where I was like, I don't need this, but I do have a big bin outside of my memory box of all of my old stories.
Okay.
So
That's awesome.
I published my first book last April, and already I was ready to do more. And the thing I wanted to write was the kids book, but I kept telling myself, no, you should write the romance because romance is hot right now. And it's been so hard to write. So I'm like, maybe I should have just did the kids book.
No, do what you want and what you love.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So did you said you were writing as a little kid. I mean, what inspired you to start putting your thoughts into words on print?
I don't even know. I think I couldn't even spell when I first got like a journal with the lock and key, and I just loved documenting things. It was a very Harriet the Spy. We're gonna go back to that because I feel like that story like changed my life. But and it probably led me into journalism in college. But I love to document things, and I lived on this block where there was like a restaurant on the end and just a bunch of weird businesses and apartments, and I lived down an alleyway. And then in between these businesses, there was like a gap and stuff. So I'd go hide in there and I'd listen to the kitchen staff. Like they would like put boxes of stuff outside this little hole of the building. And I would just sit there and listen to them talk and like record what they were saying and document. And it was so silly, but I had so much fun. I even wore the raincoat and
Did anybody catch you?
no, nobody caught me.
And what did you do
Yeah.
with the things you were documenting?
I
The
just
information?
journaled them. I didn't really do anything with them. I just wanted to do it. I don't know. I just thought it was so much fun, and so that's what.
So have you been writing steadily since you were a kid?
Yes, I would say sometimes it was on and off depending on what was going on in my life. In college, it kind of dropped off because I was doing a lot of homework assignments, and I went to school for journalism and creative writing, so I was writing for classes. Yes, so I started therapy in 2018, and it took me about 2 years before I understood what my therapist was trying to get me to do. And so, but the whole time, I would call my friend on the way home, cry it out. We would talk through it together, what I was learning, and then I would go home and I would journal because she would give me homework. And I wanted to remember the homework, and I wanted to remember how I was interpreting what I said, what she said about my experiences, so that I could go back if I ever forgot. Because a lot of times my friends would remind me, well, didn't your therapist tell you this tool to use? I was like, oh, yeah, let me go back to my journal and look at it. So that was how I was using it to heal and grow.
And be the person you are now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me about your partner. Tell me a little bit about Vinny.
Yeah. So Vinny and I met on May 4th, 2022. And he is basically the personality that I describe him is Spock from Star Trek. Like he's very Spock. He's very calm to my chaos, sweetheart, very considerate, caring person. He is a software developer and data scientist, and very spontaneous like me. And so one of our first times talking, we met on Bumble online, and he would send me pictures of these rigs in like the mall parking lot of people like living out of their campers and stuff, because I was talking already about nomad life, and he's a big backpacker, so he loves nature too. And so that was one of the things that we always talked about as a couple, and we went in on an RV together and traveled around for the last 2 years. And
So when you say you went around in an RV for the last 2 years, what does that mean?
yeah, so I know we call ourselves nomads, and some people don't know what that means. So basically, we lived out of a moving house. So we bought an RV. It was a 2020 Ace Thor, and we packed up our life and put it in the RV, shrunk it down a lot. We had 2 pets at the time. We ended up with 3 because, of course, the rite of passage as a nomad is you pick up a stray on the on the road, which we did. And we lived out of that vehicle, and we traveled like snowbirds, basically. So in the winters, or like in the fall, we would leave and go south. And the first year we went to the East Coast, and we went all the way around the country and back to Wisconsin. The second year we kind of beelined it to Arizona, and then we took our time going up the California coast, and then we went to a bunch of the national parks like Yosemite, Yellowstone. We went to the Redwoods, Glacier. It was amazing. Glacier is forever in my heart. I will be going back there someday. So
Were you working? Or
yes. So yes. So actually, we were digital nomads. So we worked remote from the RV. We had Starlink on top. So in the middle of the desert, we got service from the satellites. And Yeah, we worked full time. So that was really hard because a lot of our friends had figured out, like, they sold a house or something and then they were able to like live off the funds and just enjoy nomading a little more. So that was really hard for us. But we did make up for lost time, at night as soon as we logged off, because on the West Coast, we were done at like 3 o'clock. So then we would go hiking or whatever we wanted to do. And that was super cool. Our weekends were always so fun and jam packed. So yeah, we made the most of it.
What did you learn from that nomad life?
Just how little you need to enjoy life. I think something that's really hard not doing it is sometimes I just step outside to let the dogs out to go to the bathroom, and I just breathe in the fresh air, and I forget how much I need it and how healing it is. So I feel like it was very difficult. It was very difficult. There were a lot of very hard things. Like, imagine camping and having to dump your tanks and fill water, and like, what if you can't get to the water because everything's closed? And there were a lot of stressors, and your engine's breaking down and things like that. But it was all worth it. We learned so much about our relationship and about ourselves. And I mean, I published a book on the road while I was working and everything, and it was just a really healing time. Yeah.
So you were on the road for 2 years, and then after that, what happened?
So last winter, we had some family health stuff going on, and we didn't know if certain family members were going to be around for the next Christmas. And so it got a little scary. So we basically decided to stick around. And I had been thinking about my bookstore again a lot because I had started my own publishing company to publish my book. I published my book. I was, doing author events. It was so fun. And I had understood authorship and the publishing industry at that point, and I was ready to dive into book selling. And I said, I might be ready to do the bookstore. So we actually were going to do this as a mobile bookstore. It won't be anytime soon, now that I've opened this wonderful bookstore. But Vinny decided that he wanted to get into real estate a little bit for like investing for his future. And he was really excited where Oshkosh was going. So he wanted to have some space to help it grow and all of that. So he ended up buying this building. And so he's kind of my landlord who's doing the upkeep of the building itself, the structure. And then I'm running the bookstore. And we actually live upstairs, which is super cool. So I just come downstairs every morning and hang out down here. I basically live in here. I just sleep upstairs at this point. But it's been so great.
So why Oshkosh?
So I always came back to Oshkosh. I would always leave and be like, oh, I miss Oshkosh. And I'm an Aries, which is a fire sign. And I always tell people I have to be by water because it just like calms me down. It cools me down from my Aries tendencies. And so there was a moment where I lived in Neenah at the time, and I came to visit my friends in Oshkosh, and I got out of my car and I could smell the water. Like, not in like a fishy, weird, lakey way, yeah. But like, you just know it's like humid, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's like a body of water over here. And when I lived here, I used to walk to Menominee Park every single day. And honestly, that park is probably what also saved my mental health, because I was outside, and even on my worst days, came back feeling so much better. So I just have a very special place in my heart for Oshkosh. And I also fostered a daughter here, and it's her special place. So I also feel like she always can come back here as well. But yeah, that's a little bit, yeah.
We're going to jump back a little bit. You mentioned you're writing your book. What compelled you to actually sit down and write this book, Awake?
Yep. Yeah, Awake Poetry for the Healing is my poetic memoir. And I can't even tell you the moment that I decided to do it. I think it was just like a mixture of things where I was finding myself out on the road. When I was home, I found my community of writers who are also self-published authors, and they kind of woke me up to the movement where self-publishing is no longer taboo and a bad thing. And I learned so much from them. I was taking classes and just really doing research. And I thought to myself, I'm in marketing. I kind of do all of this. You know, I had reached out to a hybrid publisher that wanted to collect like thousands of dollars from me to do it for me. And like some people do that, and that's great. But I was like, I literally know how to do all of this stuff. And I was going to be very particular because I wanted it to be, I wanted it to look very professional. And I grew up reading A Little Golden Book, and I used to literally, this is so nerdy, but I would study the copyright page. I didn't study it, but I just liked looking at every little piece of every book. And I would read the back, and I just loved the branding. Like, it was crazy. I was just such a weird kid. And so I knew I was going to be like that with my book. My book. I even, when I was a kid, I wrote A Little Golden Dog publishing company as my like publishing company as a kid on the back. So I was always meant to publish a book. So so I started a publishing company, and I just told Vinny, I was like, I'm going to do it. And at this time, I had The Artist's Way. I had a copy of The Artist's Way. I was in the moment, we were in Florida, and I was listening to Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and those two have talked about each other. So it was like this like beautiful experience for me, where basically they both had said in their books that the universe provides you with ideas. And if you do not execute on the idea that it has given to you, that's okay, but it's going to go to somebody else. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see your book on the shelf if you don't write it. And it's my story. So I was like, well, it's my story. I have to write it. So I decided, I had been doing this April poetry contest where you write one poem every day in the month of April. And so I was already starting to do poetry, which was never my usual thing. I was like a short stories novel person. So it was kind of crazy that I ended up publishing a poetry book, but it was kind of how I felt like I could contain all these really difficult topics in a short amount of time, you know, in a creative way, and still protect myself. And it was still healing. So that's kind of how I went in that direction. And The Artist's Way was the 12-week course that you do right from the book. I had a journal set aside. She has you write every 3 pages every single day in your journal. You do a weekly artist date, and there's like just all these other things. And so one of the biggest things that allowed me to have the confidence was in the first week, she has you write like, I don't know, 5 to 10 different things that you want to happen as though it already happened. So one of them was like, I'm a prolific writer. I'm an award-winning writer. I'm a published author, like things like that. And I didn't know I was only supposed to do that in the first week. So by week 5, she had switched it up, and I was like, but I'm still doing this thing. And I realized I was only supposed to be doing it for that first week. So my confidence was ridiculous. Okay. Like it was over the top. Like it worked. So I was like, oh, Vinny, I'm publishing my book, and I'm going to start a publishing company, and I'm going to do this and that, and it's going to be great. And I'm going to start this movement. And it was awesome. Like I highly recommend everybody just continues with that the whole 12 weeks, because you will just be unstoppable. Yeah.
So after you did that, you said your confidence was sky high, and then you just made this bookstore happen. I mean, how from that to this,
yeah,
how'd that happen?
So I like to think of it as I just had some lingering confidence left over, and I realized I was selling my book the most when I was doing in-person events, and I just absolutely loved my writing community. I thought everybody was just so fantastic. They all remembered my name and my project I was working on, even though I was like out traveling most of the year. Like they were just keeping in touch with me, offering their help. And so I was like, gosh, I would love to provide a safe space for the community, for all artists, but specifically authors. And I'm like, well, I always wanted to start a bookstore. And I'm like, if I'm ever going to do it, now is going to be when I'm most confident to do it. So that's kind of how that happened too.
So do you think if you hadn't read The Artist's Way and gone through those exercises, that the store wouldn't have happened?
I honestly don't know, because the thing about healing is it's not linear and there's so many branches. So I didn't know that there was going to be a branch of healing through creativity, or like about my creative side, because in The Artist's Way, she basically, I mean, it's very spiritual, and she says, write down a time when someone told you that you're whatever, whatever it is that you do creatively, which was writing for me. Tell me about a time when someone said to you, this is not good enough, or something like that, something that you either interpreted or they straight up just said to you. And I wrote a couple things down, and then it was like, okay, now that you've done that, let me tell you, they don't know what they're talking about. And so it was just this validation that I needed. And all of the sudden, something clicked, and I was like, I am a good writer. I can do this. I don't care what these people, why did I care so much what people said? Yeah, so if it wasn't for The Artist's Way giving me that branch of healing for my creativity, I don't know that I would have been as comfortable and actually gone through with publishing my book, starting the publishing company, and now leading me to this.
So if the author, Julia Cameron, walked in
Oh boy.
tomorrow, let's say
Yeah.
tomorrow, what would you want to tell her?
Well, first I would probably pass out. And then I'd have to come to, someone would have to wake me up. And then I would just tell her, thank you for changing my life, even though I know you hear this all the time, because she has shared some stories of incredible synchronicities, because those are things she tells you to look out for, stories of other people that have written to her and talked to her, and everybody says the same thing, but she truly is a healer and a life changer. And so I would probably just thank her and be like, I'm just add me to the list. You're amazing, and I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for helping me get my art into the world, Yeah. My dreams. My dreams into the world. Thank you.
I got to tell you, when I was, I met, I don't know if you're too young, but Judy Blume.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you that I was working for People magazine at that time, and I got to go interview her.
Oh my God. But speaking of childhood heroes, I did have to share too that I met Jeanette Walls at a Power of the Purse event.
Wow. Yeah.
And she wrote The Glass Castle, and we read it in my creative writing class. And some of the things that she wrote in there, I just felt so, like, they were just so relatable to me. And when I saw her, I started to tear up, and I was like, get it together, because I was next in line, and it was before the event even started. And then she just kind of saw me, and she eventually told me, like, she was used to people just emotional, just feeling very strongly about her when they would see her. So she literally, like, stopped what she was doing, and she, like, grabbed me and hugged me, and I'm sobbing. And I was like, I'm sorry, your book changed my life. Like, I want to write my story someday. And I have a copy of her memoir signed, and it says, tell your story.
Oh.
And I have it up on my shelf because it's so special to me, because I did it. So I'm like, I need to send Julia Cameron a copy of my book. I need to send Jeanette Walls a copy of my book, and just be like, thank you. I did it.
Absolutely.
Look at me.
Hey,
I did.
So, okay, now let's talk about your this bookstore.
Yeah.
Why open an independent bookstore at this time? There's a lot of people are reading on Kindle, indie bookstores. I know maybe we're having a resurgence, but I don't know. But so what made you decide to do that?
Yeah, so I actually have a statistic that I double checked on, because I joined the American Booksellers Association, and they sent an email at one point that said that, like, it just in 2025 alone, independent bookstores have accelerated and opened 31% more than the previous year. And since 2020, it's been 71%. So it's just like, books are back. And in Oshkosh, we had two bookstores, me being one of them and TBR Anonymous down the street, opened within weeks of each other. In Appleton, there were two bookstores that opened within weeks of each other, months, and it's just happening all over. In Stevens Point, I think they have 3 on their little strip that they have on Main Street downtown, and they're just, I think books are back. I think millennials have a lot to do with that. We like nostalgia, and we like escapism because of all the things that have happened and all the things we were promised that didn't happen for us. So I'm pretty sure it's millennials guiding that. So I hope that it continues with the younger generations too. But there's definitely a comeback. And even before I really knew that, I just wanted to live out my dream. I don't think I thought too hard about it. I was like, I'm just doing it. If it doesn't work, I guess I have to go back to corporate, but I don't want to. So we're going to see how this goes. And then doing more research, I was like, I might be okay for a little bit. Hopefully it stays, accelerating for a while so that I can stick around for a long time. But yeah.
So where did the name come from?
So Author Apothecary has, I feel like it's got multiple meanings. So first and foremost, I wanted it to be a safe space for authors, of course, and extending that to artists in general. I think since 2020 and things opened back up again, people didn't realize how much they were taking community for granted. We all kind of, at least for me, I feel like we all started kind of hiding away even before that happened. Like we don't want to talk to each other. And so having it taken away from us for so long, people are now looking for that third space again. And I have always wanted to be a third space. And I finally had, the education in business enough now to feel comfortable doing, because that was honestly one of my biggest hookups or holdups and all of that. But so Author Apothecary, the word apothecary I also wanted to include because I was trying to go off of the healing aspect of life and being that third space that can help heal people. So it's a dry space, so no alcohol for book clubs and things like that. I'm teaming up with the Dandelion Mobile Bar that does like mixology classes for mocktails for people who want to do things like that. And to go back to Apothecary, so I also had this vision that the bookstore was going to look like an enchanted forest, or just at least like the forest floor of the redwoods. And I was going to be the little witch in the woods, right? With my like essential oils and herbs, and like the community's like, oh, she does these weird remedies. I'm like, it's just essential oils and herbs, you guys. It's going to be okay. Like, it's an alternative. Okay. So I wanted to like offer some things for like mental health healing. And then once I opened, some people were asking for physical body, like aches and pains, fibromyalgia. So I started carrying a magnesium line. And one gal who buys the lotion from me said that it has changed the dryness of her skin. So it was a really good brand. And I was like, this is great. Like, this is what I wanted was, and I actually didn't even expect, so it ended up being even better, being a physical healing space as well as the mental health. So, yeah,
that's great. I mean, your books, your website talks about healing. I mean, over and over and over, and you believe that books do heal.
Yes.
So how?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So books can, of course, educate you on any topic. But it also, especially for fiction, it can be something very relatable. So, for example, I grew up reading V.C. Andrews, and she has some very dark themes in there. I mean, it's like I didn't realize I was reading horror. I didn't know that was the genre because I'm not a horror person. But there were just some things that were happening to these characters that had happened to me, and I was like, I'm not alone in that. Even though my brain wouldn't allow me to know that that's what happened, it was just comforting. And since I was a kid, I've always known that about books, whether I realized I knew that or not. And so being part apothecary and a bookstore. It's that all-encompassing healing where I have a sobriety shelf now because I've had people, well, I'm 2 years sober. It's a dry space, and people have been coming in asking about, they want to understand sobriety. They want to understand addiction. And so I'm trying to cater to that. Like, what is it that people in this specific community are trying to heal from and struggling with, and then providing that in my space for healing. So,
Yep. So now that you opened on opening day, I didn't even like drop by because you had a giant line. What was that like?
it was so surreal. My neighbor, Mason from the 920 district, he surprised me with a ribbon cutting. He had this gold scissors, and he let me cut it because he was also doing like a re-grand opening. But he's like, no, I already have my grand opening. Like, this is your time. I'm like, oh my gosh. And as soon as I cut it, all these people showed up because there was nobody in line yet, and I was manifesting this line. So I'm like, before we even opened, like, there's gonna be a line down the block, and there wasn't, and I got so nervous and emotional about it. And then all of a sudden I looked around with the ribbon cutting, and there were all these people that were not planned, but they were coming. They just weren't there because it wasn't 8:00 yet, for the farmer's market to be open. And then as soon as that happened, there was this huge line, and I'm inside like trying to keep it together because now we're actually opening the doors. It was so surreal, and everything that I manifested was like, it was an even better day than I thought it was going to be. It was amazing.
That is so cool.
Yeah,
that is so cool. Right. So, what do you want your, the people to come in to the store to walk out with other than just a book?
So I'm starting to notice it happen already where people have been coming in, and it seems to be, and it's like a synchronicity that Julia Cameron has told me to watch out for, where, for example, an author came in the other day, and she writes books about dog rescues. And she was literally there to talk to me about it so that I could sell it in my store. And I was just about to put it in the system, and this couple walks in with a dog in a wagon, and they immediately bought her book. And it was like, okay, you guys could have come at any other time. This author could have come at any other time, but people are finding their people and their books all on their own almost. And so there was another gal who was in here, and I ran out of the Artist's Way copies because she bought my last copy. When she came in, she was so emotional, and she said, I'm trying to write my own book. And I said, oh my gosh, have you read The Artist's Way or done the course? And she said, no. And I showed her, I talked to her, and she was just in tears. And everything that we talked about, it was like everything she needed to hear. And so it wasn't about buying a book that day. It was like all encompassing, like building confidence and letting her know she's not alone in the fears she has about writing her book or going through whatever she's going through. It's like we're building community here too. Like, she's going to come back and tell me all about this book, and I'm starting a writing group. So now she's probably going to come to the writing group and have like a safe space to talk about her story. And yeah, so I just feel like people are not just walking away, or a lot of people anyway, are not walking away with just a book. It's like a whole experience, and hopefully healing a little bit somehow if they need it. So
that's great.
Yeah.
So, all right. Okay, so you opened, tell me the date.
June 6th.
June 6th.
Yep.
Okay. And so you've only been around for, how many days? We're talking, 3 weeks?
Yep.
Yep. Are you already thinking about other things you want to do with this bookstore?
Yeah. My brain just doesn't stop now. Thank you, Julia Cameron. So I do still have the dream of the mobile bookstore. I would love to expand this bookstore in like on the West Coast somewhere. That would be so cool. And just, I don't know, there could be just completely different vibe, maybe theme, something, but still around healing, but for the West Coast. Because this is, I feel like, for the Midwest, the way I'm like tweaking things for this specific community. And I do hope also that I find an incredible person who wants to help me manage everything so that I can still be an author and finish my 5-book romance series so that I can write the children's book series that I really want to be writing. And I have so many goals for my author life too that I've had to put on hold. So I'm manifesting that I can somehow have it all and nomad. Okay. So everybody like laughs at me. So I took like a basic book selling class with a bunch of like seasoned booksellers, and they all laughed at me. They're like, sweetheart, you're not going to be able to write your stories. And I was like, watch me. I'm going to do it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to manifest and it's going to happen.
Oh, I believe you. I believe you. Don't stand in her way.
Yeah, don't stand in my way. I'm going to do it.
Okay, what's going to happen is you're just going to come along for the ride.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Exactly, absolutely. So 10 years from now, what do you think what's going to happen? What do you see? What's
going to happen? I'm going to say it the way Julia Cameron would want me to say it. I am an award-winning author who has published dozens of books and does not pick a genre. She writes everything that she loves. She loves all genres. She is continuing to publish books that help people heal through her publishing company, Measure Life and Bookmarks. And she travels around to sell all of the books that she publishes in a mobile bookstore, and she travels the country and the world, maybe is retiring in Europe or somewhere on the West Coast.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.